If you look at the Daily Nation today, on pages 14 and 15, the National Assembly has taken out a 2-page advertisement, which they're calling the explainer of the finance bill, the National Assembly Bills number 19 of 2025. So they are explaining the finance bill for 2025, all the way from amendments to the income tax, and what they mean, and amendments to the VAT Act, definition of tax invoice, places of supply. They say amendments to the Excise Duty Act, amendments to the Tax Procedure Act, amendments to the Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act, amendment to Stamp Duty Act, and they explain this is, let's define the terms, let's talk about what the amendments are, why are they putting them in, that's it, okay? It's in the papers.
Right.
The National Assembly has also released a schedule of the dates for public participation for Finance Bill 2025.
Right.
They are taking memoranda, and you can send a memoranda to the office of the Clerk of the National Assembly. You can go to email and send it, and then there'll be some scheduled public hearings. The question is all those things, because this is now the National Assembly saying we are ticking the box of a constitutional requirement for public participation. How meaningful is it? Our next guest is going to help us delve into this conversation. He is the chairman of Bungel la Wazalendo. His name is Tabu Charles. Tabu, good morning.
Morning to you.
Karibu sana.
Thank you for the invitation.
Fixing the Nation.
That's
The last time we met, we were fixing the nation with you at the Jivanji Gardens when you took the mic ground, and you're there. Now that was Bungel la Mwananchi.
Exactly.
Yours is Bungel la Wazalendo. What's the difference?
We are different in ideology. So far, more of our activities are based in governance. And we monitor and interact, and also we address issues pertaining to the common Mwananchi, the interest of the common Mwananchi. Because we find that in our country right now, there are so many things which are happening undercover. So we are trying to expose what we can with the much more evidence that we have. We don't just give issues without confirmation. So far, we normally even contact the relevant office. We write to them for invitation, conversation, and then when you come out, you come out with the results from that office or the weaknesses of that office and how it can be strengthened. So we are not just a matter of opposing, no, but we are coming up with a positive criticism.
You engage.
You engage, yeah.
All right. We'll get into that conversation shortly, but Jano Makotz has today's quote.
I do. Today's quote is from Ralph Nader, an American politician, environmentalist. The function of leadership is to produce more leaders, not more followers. Do you agree?
I do. Yeah. As a leader, there is a concept of leadership that you have to know as a leader. First, what is your interest, or what is your objective in leadership? Do you want to be transforming people's life, or do you want to improve your life? So there are those leaders who want to improve their lives, and those are found in Kenya, majority. They don't transform the community.
Okay.
Whatever they're trying to put across to the community is for their own benefit. It is more of a capitalist state, whereby anything you benefit, must benefit them first before you get the nitty-gritties of the benefit. So I'm trying to come up with a concept that can change the narrative, whereby now leaders who work for the people, who transform the people, and they give legacy. As a leader, you have to give legacy.
Right.
But Kenya, if you count or you do a research on the particular leaders we have in Kenya, they don't have legacy. Yeah, so let us not be destructive. Let us be people who can develop the nation. And if you develop, you give it to a new generation. We should not destroy our country so that the next generation will never... You have talked about environment, conservative environment. Why do we conserve environment? For the next generation. Because there are some resources that we have that cannot multiply. But if we take care of them, they can assist future generation. Let's say, like, for example, oil. They say that oil, when you have oil, you need to reserve that your oil. Let's say, like, forest. You have to conserve the forest so that you can have rains, and rains can bring what we call food production. Food production will put what we call food security in a nation. A nation with no food security is not a good nation. It will insist. If you see a nation focusing on security, that nation is not developing. That nation, people are being made poor and poorer.
Right.
That's why now the leaders have to protect themselves.
Right. Wow. I was looking at this explainer, and then at the end there, of course, the clerk of the National Assembly, signs off, and you can send your emails as well, memorandum, like you said before. And I thought to myself, I know the email of the clerk of the National off the top of my, it's not even there. I remember because of the level of public participation that has been required of me in the last year. I think for Senate, it's clerk.senate@parliament.go.ke. The fact that that's a level of public participation that wasn't there. January 2024, Mariam had no clue, right? So there's been obviously a shift in how we do public participation. Sure. It's vital, always has been, but we have become much more aware of it. But when we say meaningful, is it just that Mariam sent a memoranda, that she sent her thoughts on the finance bill, that she sent her thoughts on the tax amendment laws or bill act as it was at that time? Is it just that I was there, I showed up for the baraza, or I sent the email? Or is there something more required of me? And what is meaningful public participation?
Thank you. In fact, that is the core of the debate. Public participation, it is not a matter of just calling the people. Even before the public participation is a process. And public participation has to start before we in public participation, give the civic education. We are participating on what? Am I aware of what I'm going to participate? So first, civic education. Then bring the matter of public participation, give a notification of public participation, and then the public participation notification is broad. You must use the local radios, you must use also national TVs. You must also put these things in print media. You must also put these things in posters within the market centers and where people are, so that they get that information in appropriate time of notice. Don't put a public participation on a print media today for a tomorrow public participation.
Yes, that was a big problem.
Exactly, that is the big problem.
To the baraza, or on a Friday, there would be a notice in the paper, that Monday, KCC,
and then they get a defense on that paper that we put the matter on the print media. No, that's why when these matters go to court, they are easily to challenge. In public participation, you have to give a rule of someone must follow, because you have to tell the people that, okay, we are going to have a public participation within 2 weeks' time. We are going to have a public participation within 1 week's time, so that I can get my time also. Being that I have the civic education right now I'll do my own research. Think about this matter. Because the public participation also varies. There's those of environmental aspects, whereby something like environmental impact assessment. So they need some good research. And then in public participation, all stakeholders must be there, whereby the affected are also they are affected indirectly. Those people are affected indirectly. When you come to projects, and I want to correct government on this, because this is a problem right now we are facing in Lower Nzoia Canal, in Sia sub-county. There is no public participation. In fact, I want them to hear this thing very clearly on public participation. Once you have given that, and then that notice of 2 weeks, on that day of the public participation, you are also allowed to put what we call cameras. I want to know Latif has said what and recommended what. Bogo has said what, criticized what. That is what you call engagement and public participation. The aspect of giving people half a bread and soda, that is not a public participation.
Where?
They are getting it. Because
that's on point.
In the community, people come with different ideas, but give them time to give that idea. But don't come to handwick them, give them something not in line of public participation, but you are formalizing it as a public participation, taking the names, the ID number, and the signatures. And then you compile, that is a public participation. No. When you go to court, you'll be asked who said what, where the camera evidence, you'll show the camera. Because at that level, even if the people are 20, but you'd follow the due process, that is not your problem. Because you see the process the way it was done. And when they drafted, also the draft of the constitutions were not wrong. When they say the access to information, the Article 35 of the Kenya Constitution stated very well, you have to give these people access to this information. In public participation, you are giving them access of the information. So you have to start with the civic education first before bringing the public participation.
Is this sufficient? Today, the National Assembly has spent a lot of its budget money to put adverts in the papers, right?
Yeah.
To explain the finance bill,
Yeah.
right? And this, they could argue, is what we have done ahead of the opening of the public participation and acceptance of memoranda on this. We first went to the media and explained. Would you call that sufficient?
Yeah, that is a beginning, because there's still more to be done. That is just a beginning, creation of awareness, civic education. Let people read. Let people now try to create open their brains in the capacity of thinking about these matters, because there are some sections that are saying that, okay, these are what they have amended, all these are what they need to, probably people should discuss on, people should find out. And then secondly, are this information also accessed to the people? Because not all people can also access the nation. Down the village, there's a problem. So we need this information also to go to the local radio stations, local vernacular stations, local leaders also to assist to give information to the people. Because I think now we are looking at this matter of finance bill very sensitively because of last year. And I can assure you, last year we met, not last year but we met 2023 financial bill, we met the Speaker, Tangula, and we discussed about this matter of public participation and when people are airing their views. We are not airing our views just a matter of airing, but we need to see our matters being enacted in that bill. I see. But you see, when a leader tells you that, okay, that it is not a mandatory for your information to be enacted. So when you don't do what we want, you do what you want, then we reject it and we force it the way we want it. And that is what happened in 2024.
Right. Yeah.
And I knew it coming. And even right now, they are just on the time bomb again. If they are not careful with public participation.
It will happen again.
And then secondly, this process also, they should give it to the civil societies. So that the civil society, normally the ones who challenge these matters in court, let them do the public participation, civic education. Why everything to be done with these people?
Have you ever seen a public participation exercise that you were satisfied with?
Right.
From
No.
beginning to... No.
I've not seen, except probably the one for Gachagua. They try to come down to the ground announcing and putting, that is the level, I mean the threshold moreover. But when you come to those kind of, the project public participation, there's another one I stopped at Kenya Railways. There was a bridge that they wanted to construct from Kenya, that railway station. When we went to public participation, the Kenya Railway staffs were not there. The Kenya Railway Retirement Benefit Scheme staff representatives are not there. The only people we saw is the Kenya Railway Police and the people doing the environmental impact assessment. And this was a project funded by the World Bank by then. When I stood up to air my view, I asked myself, we are doing public participation, and the main stakeholders are not here. So what are we doing now?
What is this public?
What is this public? Because you have called us here just to endorse what you have planned or what? Because if it is so, then that's why they are not here. Because they are not after, they don't want new ideas. It is a matter of formality. Good enough, the person who was mandated to do the public participation had put the postcards within the estate of Landimawe, and also had the cameras, the way I'm telling you. When he took that clip to the World Bank, that project was cancelled. That project
So
was
it
cancelled.
worked to some extent because you were against the project.
Exactly, because what is the community saying about this thing? And what are we, now sometimes there are people who are going to be affected by the project. Let's say like evictions. Let's say like business. Are you getting it? When you are going for a public participation, the benefit, or the affected people, what is the investor or the person funding the project has allocated for the people who are going to be allocated and to be evacuated or evicted. And what about the business community? How are you going to handle them? Because there are some people who have even matters in court. How are you going to handle that? That's why we need public participation. Public participation is more of awareness of the secrecy within the community that the investor does not know. So it's coming to get those information and put them on the table. And then see, okay, you have told me to do this bridge or do this market center or do this whatever project. But I'm seeing that there are so many people with grievances here. There are some matters in court. You didn't tell me this. There are some matters whereby there are some people need to be evicted around this place. You didn't tell me this. These affected people, how are you going to budget them? How are you going to? Because when you are doing things, do with honesty, and public participation brings honesty and transparency
So let me ask
and
you,
accountability.
with this particular example that you're giving us, how did you know? How did you know that there would be public participation on the date that it happened?
Thank you. There were those postures.
So, like, take us through the entire process of you being made aware, what information was shared ahead of the meeting, and so on and so forth.
There were some postures in our estate that there will be public participation
By
Kenya Railway, nini.
Okay.
The details, the moderator, Mr. So-and-so, the contact. Are you getting it on the posture? So
there are posters.
Postures.
Okay.
And the time frame was given. So we appeared for that. And we aired our views. And from our views, the main stakeholders were not there. So when an investor sees the main stakeholder, and I question that thing, because I don't deny police is also a stakeholder, a line of security. We cannot underrate that. But the question was, the main stakeholders, the landowners, the beneficiary of the project are not there. So what are you doing public participation for?
Okay. So this is a good example that you're giving, because, you know, there's public participation across in everything. In everything, in all stages, there's public participation.
Exactly.
This was, for example, Kenya Railways, which was conducting public participation on a project on something that was happening.
Yeah.
When the county assembly, you are a resident of Nairobi, I believe.
Exactly.
When the county assembly of Nairobi is, you know, considering bills in the county assembly, or even considering the budget in the county assembly, have you seen posters and such calling you to a public participation meeting?
No.
Are you aware that the County Assembly of Nairobi conducts public participation?
They do conduct by putting the matter on the newspaper, print media. It is put on a Monday for a public participation on a Tuesday.
Wow.
So is that a public participation?
Right.
Or an ambush public participation?
Who usually turns up for such meetings?
Okay, you know, you cannot fail to get some few people. I don't deny. Because there are some people who can be mobilized through interested groups. And in public participation, so long as you go to court and challenge it, authentic, it will be done. It is only that probably sometimes people don't have those logistics to go and challenge it in court. Unless those people affected, mostly those people go to court are majorly affected.
Right.
And they face the court so that at least they can get redress on the matter. And that's why in public participation, always in government projects, they fail. That's why I mentioned even Loanzo here, where dead bodies were removed without a court order. When I told them there was no public participation, they said that public participation. And I asked a simple question. What did you people in public participation say about the dead bodies? Because you cannot remove a dead body without a court order. And several bodies were removed. And up to date, I raised a complaint on that matter, and then there was a meeting called, and then they said that there's a public participation. Public participation is not putting a venue over the meeting on a gazette notice. Are you getting it? The parcels on land and then gazette notice on the market centers full and flying where people met. No, that is just part, but it is not a process. The process of it to be there, it is not there. Because when I ask about the evidence of the people who said what, who appeared, none to be shown. So when you are doing a government project, what I want to advise them, sometimes they need to consult widely. Deal with the people who know everything. You cannot be an accountant and you are being taken to do environmental impact assessment. You know, you're an accountant. You just go to audit aspects and everything. When you are a teacher, you are just meant to be a teacher. Anything in line of teaching, you are good to be consulted in. And when you are not, don't pretend like you are an engineer, contractor. Now you want to do a public participation. Surely, how?
What's the what next?
What is...
Hold on, just before that.
Yeah.
Let me contextualize the what next. All these sham public participations, sometimes they happen all the time. Fine, they will do them, still go draft whatever law it is, amend, do whatever policy it is that they're making, right? You've said it's grounds. Whenever there is public participation that isn't meaningful or that's just for show, that is grounds, and that's a reason why a lot of these things get quashed in court. How far back can we go? How many things can we undo with just that fact alone?
Many. It is only that, let me tell you one thing. If we could have enough funds to fund the civil societies, even us like Bungel or Wazalendo, we can put them down totally. And probably our interest is not even to put them down. Our interest is to teach them to know what to do. So that they do the correct things to build this nation. Our interest is not destructive. We are positive-minded people. So we want them to know, because you see, when we were making the 2010 Constitution, I was there. And I participated. In fact, we were in the Article 35, majority the Bill of Rights. We were there. So when we are giving our views, we are giving our views due to the kind of frustration we faced.
Right.
And that's why you find that when it comes to public participation, we are the draft of the public aspect of the framework of the public participation.
But does the Constitution guarantee that when drafting laws, the participation should be meaningful, fine, and it should be there, but should it be followed? If the people say, no, we don't want this, is there anything in the Constitution that says you have to keep in mind the feelings of the people during public participation? I don't know if you understand my question.
I do understand your question very well, and I want to respond with the Article 1.1 of the Kenya Constitution. The power is vested on the people, and the sovereignty of the nation is also on the people. So you cannot do something against the people. So long as it's against the people, it will be out. Do the correct thing for the people. In projects, there is something we call 3 C's. The 3 C's, the people who have accepted the project, and the people who are in between, either no or yes. And then the third one is that totally, I don't know anything. I don't want. So as a project manager or a project initiator, you have to convince the no, the katikati first, and then the no's. Bring them, because the first 3 the first one have accepted. The second one is 50-50. Convince him to be. So you have 2. The third one now, who is hard, talk to him. Try to look the mechanism. Accept him. Bring him closer. Put what we call now a memorandum, whereby I've accepted take this. I take this, you take this, I take this, you take this, and then we agree. And that is how you do projects. But you cannot do project whereby, a barbaric project, whereby we are doing it whether you like it, whether you do public participation. That is what I was told in Parliament. That it doesn't matter what you people discuss, or it is a formality. Where mtaendelea hivyo vile iko. No, come on, Mr. Speaker. And Senate.
The Speaker said that it's a formality.
Yeah, it is. Not is that the Speaker said it's a formality. He said that it is not a mandatory for your views to be incorporated and incorporated in the bill. Then I said, okay, fine. Why do we take our time to discuss this matter? Why do we research? Because you don't pay us for our research. And we come with the grassroots research. And do you know why Galana Kulalu failed? I was in Galana Kulalu. Is it in Kilifi County?
It's in both Kilifi and
It is between Tanariva, a place before Witu. And the project was done, and everything just went like that with those funds and everything. No harvesting was done of those maize. Do you know why? The community were not involved. In fact, the community were told that is a government project. So they scare away.
So they kept off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do you see how we are losing our taxpayers' money?
On such matters. The courts and the people who have gone to court, the active citizens who've taken these cases on public participation to court, just recently have gotten the court to interpret and to tell us how public participation should be. One, Parliament is expected to come up with legislation on public participation that defines what meaningful public participation should look like. But also at the same time, there is what the judges were saying is you ought to show people the reason why you have not taken their proposals into the final bill. So you called for public participation, people came. Tabu Charles came and said, I propose that we stop doing Wazalendo Nation on landscape, we start doing Wazalendo Nation on portrait. And then Mariam still comes and says this, you have got to say, we considered, and then we saw it's better that we do this. But also that Tabu was the only one who opposed landscape. Exactly. Eric and Janet said they prefer landscape. So a majority went for landscape. You see, there has got to be, you have got to show that. That's one of the things that Parliament was told that they must indicate.
Latif.
And they're pushing back on.
Just a minute. That is where now the video aspect I was telling you, give evidence to court. How the people participated. Proceed.
What did they say? What did the people say? There has been a bill had been taken to Parliament for public participation. And then Parliament mandated the Attorney General's office to come up with a, look at the law, look at the Constitution, look at how we ought to do public participation. The Attorney General came up with a draft, a new one, on what should happen in public participation. So it's been hanging there. It's between the Attorney General's office and going back to Parliament. In the meantime, the nation, at all levels of government, is conducting public participation. We have public participation at executive level. We have public participation at National Assembly, at county, at Senate, at state organs conducting public participation without a law that's guiding. So today, Kenya Railways could do all those things, and they put posters in the estates and all. Tomorrow, another institution will say, we put an advert in the paper. And they'll say, but we announced.
Yeah.
Another one will say, we put it in on a local radio station. But then it was a local vernacular station in a cosmopolitan area. So not everybody had it. But we announced. And so on and so forth. There's nothing to guide.
I feel like there's an intentionality to that as well. I'm sorry to play devil's advocate. Because you know what it means to amplify. Or maybe I'm the one who's...
Yes.
You know what it means to amplify. You know what it means to flood the media.
Yes.
You know, because you flood every day. You guys go out there and say, today we are launching. You know how to flood the media. So I think sometimes they benefit from the secrecy of it. From saying, if you turn to page 15, people do read the dailies, people listen to radio. To your point, you have to spread it across. Are you working with amplifiers and influencers to do it on their digital platforms?
Right.
Are you buying airtime to come and talk about it on air? So I don't know. I feel like...
Case in point, Jano, finance bill, at some point, they gave us a template. Was it for the finance bill?
Yes. Was it one for the roads?
It was for...
Which one did they give us a template? In the dailies,
In the
that's a pull-out. All you had to do is take that page out, put in your name and your details. It's the public participation is already the whatever is already there. The
It
feedback.
was the impeachment of...
Yes, it was the impeachment. You're absolutely right. Yes, so it was, your support, and they've already decided, right? Yours is just to now pen your name.
Say yes or no.
So meaning, we could get to that granular level where I don't even have to think through the you should, but so they do know.
And also there's
are
record
capable.
taking. Because even as we're conducting
Just
public
impeachment,
participation for the impeachment, in all constituencies, all 290 constituencies, there were hearings, whether we should impeach regarding Gachagua. Then everybody who attended was given that form. Put yes, put no. And now they came back and said, we had so many thousands.
Yes.
And this was a percentage that said yes to impeach. This was a percentage that said no. So you see, even the public have said it.
We should use it as a blueprint then, Tabu, don't you think? Of how that went should be the blueprint of how it should be done.
And that's why when I was starting, I mentioned it. And I said probably that one was trying
yes, you mentioned.
trying to meet the threshold. And that is more of the process. And they beat the people on that aspect of where you are signing. Now you are pending your signature. So you append your signature to confirm that you have confirmed. Because in public participation, it does not matter whether you had it over the radio or you are there. Even if you are not there, but you can get let's say like a form to fill and accept it, that is also public participation. Public participation can be also verbal, can be also in writing. And in that line, you find that the government by that time had an agenda. So they marshal the resources. They mobilize the resources, and then they take all the resources to the ground, whereby this guy could not get any angle of challenging the public participation. Are you getting it? And then you find that in that public participation, when it was being done each and every constituency, and in that constituency there was somebody to at least give you highlights of the issues. And even when you are signing, also those issues, they are addressed there, and they have said it. So whether you agree with those issues, you say yes. If you disagree, you say no. Are you getting it? And you write your name, ID number, and your constituency. So that one you cannot challenge it, because already there are people who have penned their signature. Then they were looking for threshold number. Also, are you getting it? Each and every area there was a threshold they were looking for, and they managed to get it. So you'll find that it was hard to challenge. You in the civil society could not challenge it in the court, and that's why that is what we should do even in our local projects. Like now, the one I'm mentioning, Sia Sub County, Loanzo here. They are taking advantage of the local villagers. People cannot even, in fact, telling them to come for a meeting. It is more of you are the one to tell them They'll just paint their names and whatever, and that is all. But you take the list like that with public participation. No, that is not. If you don't do proper public participation in a project, the project cannot go well.
Yeah. So
you'll get some complications ahead.
What can you do now with the finance bill?
Okay, thank you. With the finance bill, we need proper communication now. We need to start with the civic education. Because this is a matter touching each and everyone in the corner of this country. So what the government, the way they use the money for Gachagua, that money should be produced again for this finance bill.
Right.
And then let everyone participate and know what is talking about finance bill. Because this is not personal money, this is taxpayers' money. And the taxpayers' money, this is the time to spend the taxpayers correctly. Let us not pretend by giving us this kind of notification and silencing us. And then secondly, the transparency. Giving the right information. Don't hide others, because there are some subsections they are hiding. So that you just do the public participation, but there is a matter that will be endorsed, will be interjected in the Chinia March. So, and I tend to believe for transparency, they should be out of this civic education and the parliament. Let it give it to the people themselves. Let the civil society to come in now. Let them go to the slum areas, to the villages, to whatever. Give people education. There is money. When it comes to Mwananchi, there is no money. But when it comes to their issues, there is money. That is the problem you're having with these guys. And let us not be biased, because we are handling matters discriminatory, whereby when it comes to matters that are particularly to the common Mwananchi, there is no money.
Right.
But when it comes to their issue and mandate or to remove Gachagua, money is there and everything is there. Sorry.
They usually tell us, don't say that in Kenya there's no money. They say, Mimi sina pesa.
Because the money will show up. And do we know how much it cost, the impeachment? Was that figure ever made?
That would be
just like we don't have trackers just on many things, but just.
I'm sure there's a figure somewhere.
I'm sure there's a figure.
There's a figure somewhere.
I wanted to pick up from something Latif had asked, and maybe you answered and it escaped me. But if you did, Pole, is there a way, in the absence of this framework now, what happens to what all these things we're calling public participation happening now? Should we, when Parliament passes a framework and a legal framework for what is public participation, does everything that we've done now get, washed? Because what was that?
No.
There was no framework.
If you take the process I'm telling you, that is the framework. Even this Parliament don't know what to do. That's why they're delaying to make it. The Constitution 2010 came which year? Up to date, they have not even made what we call public participation.
Right.
It is not that it cannot be made. It is not that the people who came with that idea, they are the people to form the framework. But these people are so greedy. They want everything for themselves.
Right.
Are you getting it? Because if you get my conversation from the way I started the aspect of public participation, that is the framework. Are you getting it?
From civic education,
exactly,
transparency, all of those things, process threshold.
Right. Are you getting it? And in public participation, so long as you follow those processes, it doesn't matter their tendency, because the rule of thumb have been followed. Now, for you not to come, that is not the problem. The problem is the right process was not followed. That is the problem. And if you don't follow the right process, even in a project, there's another professor, the geologist, a good friend of mine, the late Nyambok, once told me, Charles, in projects, never eat more than 20%. If you eat more than 20%, that will not be a project. Just work for 85%. Eat 10 or eat 15. But if you eat more than 20%, but in a country where people eat 80%, that's why government projects can start from this year to another 10 years to 30 years, not yet done. Because they keep on allocating money, but the money is not enough. Are you getting it? So when you are doing public participation, let us come back to public participation. What you need to observe first, and you should know, if you don't follow the right procedural aspect, whereby it can be challenged, because normally lawyers look at the weaknesses. Where did you avoid my people or my client? Right. And there is where he'll pin you on. So if you follow and that's why most of the the investors or the project managers don't want to follow public participation because they know in that line they know how to squeeze funds. So they don't want that public participation because it will alight where they want to scale out. So the only thing is that so long as they do that, the project will be incomplete because of lack of proper public participation. One, Kenya is a country whereby even when it comes to compensation, you have to go to court. And in a country whereby matters are many in court, the government is weak. There's corruption in governance. As a student of community development, I'm telling you for free. So long as you see the burden that there are so many cases in court, know that that country administratively is not working. People are not working. People are just doing their own personal interest. Those are indicators of a country. Or an indicator where the country is poorly economically. You look at the way the labor aspect. When you see high level of hawking is not population. It is lack of industrialization and manufacturing. Because the people who are supposed to be in manufacturing are now no opportunity in industrialization, so they come to hawking. And you see, hawking does not bring any dollar. But manufacturing and also farming, agriculture, bring more dollar, like coffee, tea, pyrethrum, something like that. So I've been advising even my country, but you see, you just give advice to take it upon them. This country, right now, if we are serious, even this finance bill should focus on the aspect of investors. How can we attract more investors in the country? And taxation, we shall get directly or indirectly by itself. Because once people are captured in the workplace, they'll have to spend. Because ask yourself, how many people spend in a day? You see somebody saying, lunch is not a must. Do you see you are denying your country a tax there? If you don't take lunch, don't you see that? Don't you see? Sometimes you don't take mat to your place. You walk. Don't you see that you are evading tax? You see? So that is also a tax evasion. So you see, sometimes I do try to advise the concerned people in my country, but they don't want to listen. And what I've come to realize, if you are trying to give them good advice, they hate you. Yeah. And they blacklist you, and they keep on watching you. Even like now, I've talked here. They know me. They say that guy is there. You see, now he's giving up. But it's a good challenge. I've given the educative aspect of public participation. And if they have any problem, they should call me. In fact, this is the right to call me. Charles, what can we do here? What can we do here? So that you can advise. This is my country. I need to do better for my country. Yeah, I should not be like there was a professor who was taken to Rwanda. Most of the constitution in Rwanda is made by Kenyans. The gender rule, gender whatever. In Rwanda, it was made by a Kenyan professor. So you fail to understand our knowledge, instead of helping us, is helping foreigners. Because most of our people don't want people who are knowledgeable. They want people with shortcuts. They don't want to listen.
We just want to do things that will serve a few people.
Exactly.
On Thursday last week, the National Assembly concluded public participation hearings on a bill that is seeking to amend the Constitution. Are you aware?
Yeah.
Are people aware that there's a bill before Parliament that is amending the Constitution by introducing 4 new funds? The National Government CDF, the Senate Oversight Fund, National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and the World Development Fund. And they did public participation all of last week across the country. People came, people spoke. Some people said no, others people said no. If we remove CDF now, who's going to pay our school fees for our children? If you remove CDF, who's going to do this and the other and build schools? And most likely, Tabu, the overall result of the public participation here is going to be that people overwhelmingly support the inclusion and entrenchment of these funds into the Constitution. Do you think that is the true sentiment of the Kenyan people?
No. You see, these people are very cunning. First of all, they call themselves policy makers. Are you getting it? And they say that they are representing us in parliament. Are you getting us? Secondly, they want to manage our funds. So where is the transparency there? Because you cannot make law to monitor funds and yet you also manage funds. Because you want to steal, and then you make law that people should not steal. Is it possible? It can't. It can't. Look at Senate right now. The way Senate is debating, very open-minded, but give them funds to manage. Tomorrow it will be weak. That is how to weaken the Senate. And even right now, CDF, in fact, I'm so shocked to see member of parliament putting a piki shade and then write governor so-and-so. Not governor, that is not your money, man. That is a funds for the taxpayers. Yeah. Your name should not appear there. Yeah, it is not a privilege you have done to us. That is our money. And so far, you are spending it. You find that shade was built on 7 million, 5 million. And
AC.
Yeah, you don't
air conditioning.
Yeah, so you fail to understand what are these people doing, like these public toilets. You cannot call a public toilet and then you charge.
Yeah.
Do you know the definition of public? You see, sometimes I don't know. Probably it is a matter of failure to understand grammar by definition. But what I know, something public is that you construct it, put some people to manage that toilet, let them be paid, let the people go there in and out. So that is discriminating others who don't have money. Somebody is stomaching, he has no money, and he has to help himself. Where will he go? Are you getting it? Yep. So there is biasness in the country. When we are trying to bring this narrative to the picture of a member of parliament, because most of the member of parliament find that they like putting those toilets. Are you getting it? If you see such kind of mind, that is not a development mind. It's a mind that makes you to be there. Yeah, we need people who have good minds who can open up the country, come up with new ideas that can create more job opportunities. You see, there was a time I told people in another meeting in one of the hotels that us being jobless, it is our own creation. And most of our leaders don't want us to have that job. Yeah. Are you getting it? Because how can you expect an investor to come and you want also a kickback? I want to build for you a house, and the land is yours. You want me again to buy your land to build for you the house in your land. Can it be possible? No. So that's why I'm telling you, in fact, sometimes I wanted probably a conversation with one of the MPs around so that we can give them some little knowledge to know how to do leadership. Because how can you say, you as a member of parliament, in fact, it is so sad. How can you say that, oh, these people, they wanted the toilet. That is their problem. First of all, do you know even a member of parliament, you need to do what we call public participation as from the ward level? In the ward, as per the all corner of the ward, so that you get the view of your voters to know their problems on the ground, so that with the CDF money, you go and do what they want. Are you getting it? Yeah. Like street lights, which is good. That one I cannot complain about, which is so good in security. Coordination between the Nyumba Kumi and also with the CDF office. Are you getting it? That is also good. Are you getting it? Secondly, in CDF, we need to access to have free education. Because you cannot say that for me to get a bursary from constituencies Stare, I have to be a voter of Stare for me to get that bursary. Right. That is discriminatory. Okay. You are discriminating me because I'm a Kenyan and these taxpayers many. Yeah. I need to access bursary anywhere I want because it is not his money. Yeah. But they are using them for their own personal gains, whereby they are saying, you didn't vote for me or you are not a voter here, you cannot get it. Are you getting? That's why our recommendation as Bungel Wazalendo was, let us have free education. That money, lump sum, we not
remove it from bursaries and
whatever, from governors or
just
whatever.
Fund education.
Fund education. Yes. And Makio education is a service industry. Yes. We don't import education. No.
Charles, thank you.
Yeah, we don't import education.
Thank you for your passion. And we need MPs who love this country. Let's start there. You have to love us first to want the best for the country. I'm just saying.
Sindio?
Yes.
Sindio? Yeah. What's coming up next?
Oh, hey, first of all, I've seen Jackso, Mr. Director, on the poster for Your World. A man of many hats.
Jackson Director, AI researcher and scholar. Also TV host.
Right.
Haya, what else? Hey. Jackson nimekosea gani? Which one have I not said? AI scholar and researcher, director, TV host, producer.
Photographer. He's telling us. But the topic is AI and the future of work. What jobs will survive the automation wave? That's coming up next with Winnie and Wikali on Your World. But just before we wind up, first of all, thank you, Charles, and thank you to all our guests today. Thank you, Mariam and Eric, for just being here every day. I really appreciate you guys.
Really? We thank you as well. And we thank our crew. You know, Jackson, you hear we talk about Jackson, our director of the day, or Philip, the director of the day, or you hear us talking about Wangeshi. But it's a crew of many behind the scenes who are doing everything to just make sure that this show, is on air, on time, and the way it should be. One of them is celebrating their birthday today.
Yay!
Mercy is celebrating her birthday, and the crew actually did something to do something.
Something small.
Watch this.
What's up, nation? We're fixing people's birthdays today. Today is Mercy's birthday. Happy birthday, Mercy! This one over here.
We are fixing the nation.
Yes, we're fixing the nation.
One conversation at a time.
Yay!
She had no idea, did she?
She didn't.
She didn't know.
I was about to say, it's time. Kata keki sio
But
ugali.
utungoje tafadhali
They
kidogo.
couldn't do it
Mariam
there. I
and
see
Eric
Jackson,
and I,
they were all quite busy and all. Yeah, and that's Jackson, the director. And you see, you've seen, she's shown us how to do the WhatsApp Nation
Right.
video. Moving, motion picture, cinematographer. Asante sana. Tabu Charles, Chairman Bungel Wazalendo, has been our guest. And thank you for tuning in to our conversation today. Fixing the nation one conversation at a time. Join us again tomorrow. It'll be Friday. We'll be having a conversation about youth leadership. What next? Join us. It'll be the X Space coming on to broadcast tomorrow. Have a lovely day. See you.
Bye.